Hi everyone, I'm Mike from DenonDJForums.com and this is my own review of the Denon DN-MC6000. For this review I'm going to be using a Windows XP laptop loaded up with Traktor Pro version 1.2.7, which is the latest at the time of making this video. I'm going to be running Traktor in a 2-deck mode, and I'm also going to be using the mixer on the 6000 rather than the software mixer. Now if you're watching this review, the chances are you know a little bit about the MC6000 already. It's basically a MIDI mixer and controller, but also has the ability to double up as a physical mixer as well. And it can do this because it's got a 2-in 2-out sound card compatible with PC and Macs. Now installation for this is quite straightforward. For my Windows setup, all I had to do was install the drivers off the CD included with the MC6000, that's the Windows ASIO drivers. That then installs the USB drivers for the audio and also for the MIDI at the same time. Once that's done, just plug the 6000 in. It's just one USB cable between the 6000 and your laptop, and then you can start up Traktor, and if all goes well you should see the MC6000 as an audio device in Traktor. Now if you're familiar with DJing with software, you'll know that any product has lots of buttons, knobs and options, and there is no way a controller can have a button for every single one on the screen. The controller would just be absolutely huge and too complicated. A good controller has all the most important and most used buttons to hand, but allows you to have a secondary function for all the buttons, so they can do two things if you press a shift button, which is exactly what Denon have done here with the 6000. Now as you probably know, the 6000 ships with Traktor in Europe and Virtual DJ in America, and what Denon have done is ensure that the 6000 works flawlessly with either products in terms of mapping buttons to functions on the software. So for example, when using the 6000 with Traktor, there's only 3 buttons in the center of the 6000 which don't actually do anything by default. But that's fine because it means that every single other button is described correctly whether you're using Virtual DJ or Traktor. One handy thing Denon provide with the 6000 is what's called a quick guide. It's an A3 sheet, one side dedicated to Virtual DJ, the other to Traktor. Basically half the sheet is dedicated to the actual setting up of the software for your for the 6000, and also the settings for USB for the MIDI controller. But the main center part of the sheet is what's called a function table list, and lists every single function of every single knob and button on the 6000, and also what happens when you press shift and that knob or button at the same time. So that's a very useful sheet just to keep handy and take with you to gigs. In the majority of cases, the shift button does what you expect. In other words, pressing the Q button by itself stores a cue point, pressing shift in the Q button deletes the cue point. There are a couple of exceptions which you have to look up. For example, the auto loop plus and minus symbol, when you press shift with that actually becomes the beat jump and allows you to beat jump around a particular track. So if you're used to Traktor, you'll know what that does. The other interesting key combination is in fact the jog wheel. By itself, the jog wheel just goes back and forward through a track. But if you hold the shift key down whilst pressing the jog wheel, it automatically allows you to very quickly go through your track list in the browser window, so you can scroll through much faster than you could with the central selection knob. The jog wheels on the 6000 feel fantastic. They are slightly heavier than they look, and the weight means you can get a very reliable spin back. The crossfader on the 6000 feels quite loose compared to existing mixes in the Denon range. For scratch DJs this is actually quite a good thing, but for myself as a house DJ I keep moving it by accident when I'm accessing other buttons. So the good news is I can turn the crossfader off on all 4 channels and change it all to through. Now the 6000 only has one LCD meter, and to allow you to customize this mixer to how you like to DJ, what Denon have done is added a little switch above it which decides how you want the LCD to work. If you move the switch to the right, that's master, so you'll get left and right stereo indications of the master output. If you move the switch all the way to the left, that stands for channels 2 and 3, and that'll show you to the left and the right what the volumes are for each of those 2 channels. Now for the majority of users out there, that's probably what you're going to be using. The middle option for the switch is for channels 1 and 2, which the majority of users again will be using for auxiliary sound inputs. Just above the LCD meter switch is the crossfader mode button, which basically allows you to say you're using the crossfader for audio, for video, or for audio and video. Moving swiftly on to file navigation and browsing, first thing you'll notice is there's a dedicated button in the center called Browse, and that expands the screen so you can just see tracks to maximize your viewing area. The illuminated selection button in the center of the 6000 scrolls through your tracks by default. Pressing Shift with that also then allows you to scroll through your file browser on the left hand side. Just below the central selection button are two large buttons labelled back and forward. Now by default on Traktor they are mapped to scrolling through your favourites. Now don't forget that most of the buttons and knobs I've shown you so far can be mapped to the software in any which way you like. I haven't changed anything. I've downloaded the latest TSI file from the Denon DJ website. It's hidden under the manual section of the MC6000 product if you want to have a look for it. Now I just want to take a minute to explain the layout of the 8 knobs and buttons for the effects. That's FX1 and FX2. The layout suggests that FX1 is for the left hand side and FX2 is for the right hand side. That's not the case, that's just where they're placed. You can have FX1 and FX2 both on any particular channel depending on your routing that you set up in Traktor or Virtual DJ, and Denon have provided 2 buttons on both sides to allow you to decide which effects you want on which channels. One of the final things I want to talk about is the microphone, and the reason is that Denon really have gone to town on this product to make sure that every possible microphone option is available on this product. So if you take a look at the top left hand corner of the mixer, you'll see that there are 2 independent level controls for each microphone. Both microphones have switches. There is a ducking controller switch. Both microphones have the ability to do echo, with the switches being on the front. Each microphone has its own echo switch, and also a group post as well, so you can do pre or post on the microphone depending on whether you want it to go out to recordings, etc. Hidden away quite nicely on the front edge of the mixer are the microphone EQs. So each microphone has its own high, mid and low EQ, which is very useful. Again, the echo also has a wet dry knob on there, so you can change the amount of echo going through to the microphones. Also hidden on the front edge of the 6000 is the crossfader detail, so you can change the contour of the crossfader, and also you can change whether you want channels 1, 2, 3 and 4 to go to the A side, the B side, or just straight through. For the headphone section, it's the standard volume and pan between Q and master, with the option of having a split Q for one ear for each. The only thing I miss from my previous Denon mixer with the 6000 is the ability to have custom EQ settings so I can really whack the bass up in my headphones, but I have been spoilt with the X1500 for a while, so I'll let that one go. I'm going to very quickly run through the back of the 6000. Starting on the left hand side, we have the single USB cable to the PC or Mac, along with a switch telling you what you're actually connecting the 6000 to. Next up is the switch where you tell the 6000 what mixing mode you want to use. So internal mixing means you're actually using the mixer on the 6000 as a physical mixer. Alternatively, if you want to use the PC mixer, i.e. the one built into the software, you can do that. Now don't forget that it's a 2-in, 2-out system. So if you want to DJ with 4 channels and 4 decks, you'll need to use PC mixing. So the software can do the mixing and the mix down, and then that can be passed back to the 6000. If, like most of us, you're only really doing 2 channels, you can set this to internal mixing and actually use the physical mixer, and that means you've got channels 1 and 4 to allow you to plug in a CD player, all the rest of it. One of the less talked about features of the 6000 is the output on the USB audio. Don't forget you've got another 2 channels to play with there. This switch allows you to choose what you want to send out back to the computer device. If you set it to channel 1 to 4, which is the left hand switch, you'll end up sending just the outputs of channel 1 and 4. So if you've got some auxiliary inputs coming through to this mixer, you can get them back to the PC, which could be quite useful for you. However, if you move this switch to the right, which is what I think the majority of you want to do, it enables you to send the recording out back to the PC and also the microphone on a separate channel as well, which is exactly what I'm doing now to record the audio for this video. All you then have to do is go back into your software and tell it what channel it's expecting to get a signal back from for your recording. So if you're using the inbuilt recording feature of Traktor or Virtual DJ, it records the right thing for you. And don't forget, because the microphone supports ducking and also post and pre, it means that you can record the original set without you going over the microphone and speaking every 5 minutes, which is pretty cool. Next up at the back is the booth send out. Don't forget the 6000 has a full booth send facility. So on the right hand side of the mixer, you've got your level for your booth, you've got a very simple high and low EQ, and also what you want to send to the booth. So any individual channel can be picked, or you can send the master out. So most people are either going to use the booth for a proper booth monitor cranked up to full volume so they can hear what they're playing. Occasionally you can also use it for feeding another room. So if you've got a input of an MP3 player or a CD player or something, just like a backing track you want to send to the chill out room, you can do that with the 6000. The master out section is very boring. You've got two balanced XLRs and your stereo phono outputs. There's also a line out for the record on the back, but I can hardly see anyone ever using that, because with software, of course, you can record straight back to software, and that just makes things 100 times easier. Finally, in the input section, you've got two line-ins with the ability to switch between phono and line. So if you've got vinyl, you can use it, and also you've got two auxiliary ins as well. So that's auxiliary in 1 and auxiliary in 2. The two rotational knobs the centre top of the 6000 above the Pram 1 and Pram 2 buttons are pretty much the two buttons and knobs you're going to use for custom mapping. By default on Traktor, they map to the main filter and turning the filter on and off, but as I say, because it's mappable, you can make those do whatever you want. Now, I've just been asked, can you use the jog wheel in the traditional Denon sense to help you beat match your tunes? Yes, you can. This is how you do it. Okay, this is in the standard mode, so as you can see, it's going through the tunes very quickly. But if I hold shift down and press vinyl forwards, you'll now notice that the tempo is changing ever so slightly to help me go forward, or backwards slightly to help me get the tempo just right. So the overall question is, should you buy an MC6000? Well, to be honest, this device has been the device to convert me from CDs. I've been using 5000s, 3500s for years, and this is the device that's finally got me onto DJing with software. It's just the right size, it's slightly bigger than my laptop, I can shove it in a small rucksack and take it to private parties, to gigs, with no problem at all. The layout and grouping of the buttons is absolutely spot on, I can't fault that. And it's taken me about 2 or 3 days to get the hang of it, and that's because I'm new to Traktor as well. The final question we get asked a lot on the forums is, what's the sound quality like? And the reason I haven't mentioned it is because it's Denon, and it goes without saying that this is very high quality, and it's no different from using a Denon digital deck with Denon CD players. It really is high quality. If there's anything you don't think I've answered, drop by the forums, denondjforums.com, and go over to the MC6000 section, and we'll do our best to help you with your queries. I'm DJ Mikey C, and thanks for watching.